Hey, it's Soyeon. Welcome back to our 5th episode of our news review on East. Today, we're going to talk about North Korea plenary session, Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, and the current gridlock at the South Korean National Assembly. The first news of the week is about North Korea, and more specifically, the 10th enlarged plenary meeting of the 8th Central Committee of the party. North Korea convened a 4-day-long major mid-year plenary session of the Workers' Party of Korea to review 6 months of progress on June 28 to July 1st. According to the Korean Central News Agency and the party daily 노동신문, this event took place to facilitate the successful implementation of the orientation of the party and state policies and all the tasks for 2024. Let me explain more about the plenary meeting. The Party Congress is the official highest decision-making body of the Workers' Party of Korea, the sole ruling political party in North Korea. According to Article 14 of the party's statutes, it decides on all matters of policy and strategy, including amendments to the party's constitution. The Congress is supposed to be held every 5 years, but since the first one in 1946, it has only been held 8 times in total. Therefore, the plenary session of the party's Central Committee, held to compensate for the lack of a Congress, oversees all party business and decides on urgent issues such as the party's course and policies. It is usually held twice a year, in the first and second half of the year. Since 2019, North Korea has held a year-end plenum attended by Kim Jung-Un to wrap up the year and set policy directions for the new year. North Korea discussed 5 agenda items at the latest party meeting, including the interim review of the implementation of state policies for this year and the issue of enforcing work discipline in key sectors. Specific details on the agenda have not been disclosed, but the focus was mainly on the domestic economy rather than the military or foreign affairs. Kim Jong-un expressed his satisfaction with economic performance, saying that the economic situation was improving significantly. He mentioned that major industrial sectors including metals, chemicals, and power performed as planned in the first half of the year and emphasized improvement in leadership, judicial reforms, and economic management. He also asserted that the farming situation throughout the country is fairly good, with fertilizer and agrochemicals being supplied to farmers and a major irrigation project now complete. Nevertheless, there are doubts about this last assertion, because according to the South Korean Rural Development Administration, agricultural production in North Korea increased by 310,000 tons in 1 year to reach 4.82 million tons last year, which is still less than the 5.76 million tons needed each year to feed the population. Finally, North Korea aims to build new modern factories in 20 locations across the country over the next decade to improve regional living standards. Touching on the military and foreign affairs, Kim Jong-un clarified the direction of military and political activities by North Korea's armed forces, but did not disclose further details. The leader called for the Standing Committee of the Supreme People's Assembly to revise the country's constitution to enhance the prestige of the state, indicating an expected key session of the North's rubber-stamp parliament. In recent weeks, North Korea characterized the two Koreas as two hostile states and has cut off land routes and erected barriers along the demilitarized zone. Naming South Korea as an enemy in the constitution would institutionalize the breakdown of inter-Korean relations. The Supreme People's Assembly might also rectify a North Korea-Russia treaty, marking a turning point in the perpetuation of the Cold War-like situation on the Korean peninsula. Kim Jong-un didn't issue any message targeting South Korea or the United States in his speech, nor did he reveal details about the country's push to advance its weapons arsenal. After the key party meeting, Kim Jong-un visited a munitions factory, stressing that the modernization achieved by the country's defense industry should be the goal for all sectors of the economy. Next, North Korea reshuffled party officials at the party meeting. A woman named Kim Jong-sun has been appointed as Department Director of the Workers' Party of Korea Central Committee. By showing that women can carry important tasks within the regime, Kim Jong-un could be consolidating his own daughter's position. North Korean officials delivered speeches while wearing badges with Kim Jong-un's portrait. This other move can be interpreted as an effort to strengthen internal cohesion and legitimize Kim's rule amid increasing public dissatisfaction due to economic hardships and also the influx of external cultural content into the country, such as K-pop or K-dramas from the South. To conclude, the party meeting garnered a lot of attention from South Korea and other regional powers as it followed summit talks between Kim and Russian President Vladimir Putin in Pyongyang on June 19th. However, the North Korea State News Agency didn't mention Pyongyang's relationship with Moscow or Beijing. The event occurred during a tense security situation with military exercises by the US, Japan, and South Korea in late June. On Monday, North Korea's ballistic missile test failed, and they criticized the drills as an Asian version of NATO. The second news of the week is the 24th meeting of Council of Heads of State of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. On Tuesday, July 2nd, Chinese leader Xi Jinping left with the first secretary of the General Secretariat of the Communist Party of China, Zhai Qi, and Foreign Minister Wang Yi on a state visit to Kazakhstan to attend the meeting of nations forming the Shanghai Alliance in the capital Astana. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, or SCO, was established in 2001 by China and Russia to discuss security concerns in Central Asia and the wider region. Its permanent members are Kazakhstan, India, China, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Russia, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and since last year, Iran. Observer states and dialogue partners include Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. This year, Moscow's close ally Belarus will become a full member of the organization, and its admission demonstrates Russia's desire to consolidate blocs of non-Western countries. Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping met on Wednesday for the second time in just a few months. The two leaders last met in May when Putin visited Beijing to underline their close partnership, which opposes the US-led democratic order and seeks to promote a more multipolar world. Through this summit, Putin wants to show that Russia is not isolated by Western sanctions linked to the invasion of Ukraine in 2022. An arrest warrant has been issued against him by the International Criminal Court for War Crimes, accusing him of personal responsibility for the abduction of children in Ukraine. Kazakhstan is not a party to the Rome Statute and is therefore under no obligation to arrest him. At a meeting with Xi on Wednesday, Putin hailed the SCO as one of the key pillars of a fair, multipolar world order and said ties between Moscow and Beijing are experiencing the best period in their history. Both face soaring tensions with the West and have met about 40 times. Their meeting in China in May underscored Beijing's diplomatic support for Moscow and how it is a top market for its oil and gas. Russia has relied on Beijing as a main source of high-tech imports to keep its military machine running. The SCO helps China project its influence, especially across Central Asia and the Global South. Xi called for bridges of communication between countries last week and wants to further promote China as an alternative to the US and its allies. On Thursday night, Chinese President Xi Jinping arrived in Tajikistan for a state visit, following the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit in Kazakhstan. Tajik President Emomali Rahman welcomed him at the airport with a grand ceremony involving 1,500 Tajik youths in traditional attire dancing and waving the national flags of China and Tajikistan. Xi expressed his eagerness to discuss plans for enhancing China-Tajikistan relations. Rahman emphasized that their relationship has entered a new historical stage with prospects for extensive cooperation. Currently, China and Central Asian countries have achieved 3 comprehensive coverages: full coverage of comprehensive strategic partnerships, full coverage of practicing the community with a shared future for mankind on a bilateral level, and full coverage of signing cooperation documents for jointly building the Belt and Road Initiative. The trade volume between China and the 5 Central Asian countries reached $89.4 billion by the end of 2023, an increase of 27% from 2022. Within the framework of the Belt and Road Initiative, many major cooperative projects in infrastructure, agriculture, and energy have been implemented, such as the Kapchage photovoltaic power station in Almaty and the modernization project of the Shainkent oil refinery in Kazakhstan. In Tajikistan, a series of iconic large-scale cooperation projects like the Dushanbe No. 2 power plant have provided impetus for the country's economic and social development and improvement of living standards. China and the 5 Central Asian countries have also developed strong cultural ties, with around 70 pairs of sister provinces and cities, over 10 Confucius Institutes set up in Central Asia, and Luban workshops to support talent. The China-Kazakhstan Visa Exemption Agreement has officially come into effect, greatly facilitating the movement of people between the two countries. Xi's previous visit to Tajikistan in 2019 saw him receive the Order of the Crown from Rahman, and both leaders pledged to build a China-Tajikistan development and security community. In May 2023, they announced the creation of a China-Tajikistan community with a shared future. Trade between China and Tajikistan doubled from 2013 to 2023. China has become the largest source of investment in Tajikistan and its second largest trading partner. Tajikistan was among the first countries to support the Belt and Road Initiative proposed by Xi in 2013 and signed related cooperation agreements with China. Under the Belt and Road Initiative framework, a series of China-Tajikistan cooperation and aid projects have been implemented in key areas such as infrastructure, metallurgy, energy, cement, and the cotton textile industry. According to Chinese ambassador to Tajikistan Jung-Un, the two countries firmly support each other on issues concerning their core interests. Both countries have suffered from the three evil forces of terrorism, extremism, and separatism, and advocate for a common, comprehensive, cooperative, and sustainable security concept. The visit of President Xi is likely to boost cooperation and contribute to the overall prosperity of Central Asia. The third news of the week takes place in South Korea with the announcement of the cancellation of the opening ceremony of the 22nd National Assembly. On Thursday, July 4th, the National Assembly Speaker's Office announced that the opening ceremony of the 22nd National Assembly scheduled for the next day, Friday, was cancelled. The ruling People Power Party declared a boycott of the opening ceremony in protest against the bill being pushed by the opposition Democratic Party. The bill calls for the appointment of a special counsel to investigate a controversial military report into the death of a Marine last year. We need to take a closer look into Marine Corps incident in order to understand the bill and the subsequent political gridlock. In July 2023, Marine Corps Colonel Park Jung-Un investigated the death of a South Korean Marine called Che, who died after being swept away by a torrent during a search for flood victims in Yecheon County, North Gyeongsang Province. Park determined that 8 people, including the 1st Marine Division Commander Im Sung-gun, should be charged with manslaughter due to occupational negligence. Park reported his findings to Marine Corps Commandant Kim Ge-hwan and then Minister of Defense Lee Jong-seop and transferred the case records to the Gyeongbuk Provincial Police on August 2, 2023. Between July 30th and August 2nd, calls between the Presidential Office, the Ministry of National Defense, the National Police Agency, and the Marine Corps took place, ordering the case records to be withheld and retrieved. Park, who led the investigation, was dismissed and indicted by the military prosecutor on charges of mass defiance, later reduced to simple defiance. The Marine Corps Command and Ministry of Defense claimed that Park disobeyed orders to stop transferring his findings, while Park claimed that he never received such an order through the official chain of command. The case record, which only specified the charges of 2 battalion commanders and left out any mention of Im Sung-gun, was resubmitted to the provincial police on August 21st. Im Tae-hoon, director of the Center for Military Human Rights, raised suspicions of higher authority involvement, noting that Im Sung-gun worked as a Blue House administrator during the Lee Myung-bak administration, which is a previous conservative administration. The Minister of National Defense Lee Jong-seop and the first director of the National Security Office Kim Tae-hyo also had connections with Im. Democratic Party lawmaker and former 4-star General Kim Byung-chu suggested the military had an incentive to downplay the incident to avoid public outrage over the division commander's potential involvement. Numerous men and women have died in the military over the years under unexplained circumstances, with incidents often downplayed or covered up. In 2021, the law was amended to require civilian police to investigate deaths in the armed forces, independent of top-level intervention or external pressure. In the case of Marine Corporal Che, the opposition party saw the presidential office and higher-ups as exerting external pressure to minimize the case. Hence, the Democratic Party proposed a bill for a special prosecutor to investigate the potential obstruction and cover-up. The Marine Corps Special Prosecutor Act was passed by the 21st National Assembly on May 2nd, but was then vetoed by the Presidential Office. The bill was later sent back to the National Assembly, rejected in a second vote, and deferred to the 22nd National Assembly. The 22nd National Assembly reintroduced the act with an expanded scope of investigation at the initiative of the opposition now holding the majority. The ruling party tried to block the reintroduced special prosecution law, but the opposition ended the deadlock with a vote and passed the bill at the plenary session, sparking strong criticism and boycotts from the ruling party. President Yoon Suk-yeol is likely to veto the bill. Stay updated on all these topics and more with the daily news roundup on Instagram. It's an easy and effective way to keep up with the news. Check all the links in the description. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you like our content. It really helps us out. See you soon!